So Donald, the thing is, why am I always filming when I make the ugliest faces? Hi and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. It's been a wee while. So should we acknowledge the fact that I disappeared off the face of the earth, or shall we just pretend like I didn't and talk about books? Well, I'm back. Took a wee bit of a break, and by took a wee break I mean had some technical issues, took a flaky and quit. Life was a bit mad, and so I decided I was going to bulk film a whole bunch of videos and take a wee bit of time away, but then we swapped laptops and the new one that we were editing on kept making the sound janky and out of sync, and then at one point during a video just cut out halfway through and was messing with my exports, and I didn't deal well when technology doesn't do what I ask it to do. I get irrationally murdery. So I just took a flaky and decided that I hated BookTube and didn't want to do it ever again in my life. Didn't want to have to watch any BookTube, didn't even want to read books, didn't want to look at a camera or a laptop ever again in my life, and I have now calmed down and I have seen the error of my ways. I just took a flaky, basically. I biffed it and I've calmed down now, so I'm back. Yeah, I will catch up on everything that I read in the time that I was off BookTube. I think what I'm going to do is, I was struggling before to fit in the 45-minute to an hour rant videos that I do twice a month, so I think I'm going to move to weekly videos. I think that it will be easier to chat about what I'm reading, hopefully no ramble on for as long, and it'll take less time to film and edit them and get them uploaded. So I'm going to upload every Saturday from now on with my what I have been reading, and I will just be popping in books that I read while I was away from the channel and those wrap-ups. I'm not going to do net galleys anymore. That was another thing that was bugging me a wee bit. So I used to read 4 net galleys a month, and then I dropped it to 2 net galleys a month so that I could focus on some of my physical TBR, because I have over 300 physical books that I want to read, and it was getting to the point where there wasn't as much exciting new stuff coming on NetGalley. Don't get me wrong, there were some amazing NetGalley books that I read that I thoroughly enjoyed and then went on to purchase, but there was some of them that were just not really hitting the mark, and if I was to have walked into a bookshop and I was to have picked it up, I probably wouldn't have purchased it. And it got to the point where I felt like I was requesting a lot of net galleys that were a wee bit outside my wheelhouse, just so that I could read a net galley to talk about it. And the last few net galleys I read were properly shocking, so I was just I didn't want to read books just for the sake of reading books. I just want to read books that I actually want to read. So I'm not going to read net galleys anymore unless it is a new release that I'm really excited for, and then I'll talk about it on the channel. But going forward it will just be my physical TBR, because I own enough books that I want to read to justify not having to read net galleys, really. So the first book I want to talk about today is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. So this isn't a book that I would ordinarily have picked up. The only reason I did pick it up is because it mentions witches a tiny wee bit in the blurb. So I was I'll give it a go. It was one of these books that when me and Simon were out, we would always both pick it up for me, and I was don't think it's for me, and I'd put it back down, but then I'd forget all about it, and the next time we were in looking at books I'd pick it up again. So we got this on our last charity shop book haul, and I decided I was going to give it a go and I was going to read it. It was definitely more historical fiction than it was a book that I would have ordinarily have read about witches. Historical fiction isn't something that I've ever really gotten into as a genre. I feel because I read predominantly fantasy, there's a tiny wee cross section historical fiction that's got like a wee bit of fantasy in it, and it's sort of marketed at both angles, and always pick it up and then go, oh god no, it mentioned like King Henry or the 1800s, and I put it back down because I'm like, oh no, for me, like absolutely not. That I decided that I was going to give this one a go to see if it was something that I would have enjoyed, and I don't think it's something that I'll pick up again. However, the book wasn't the world's worst. Greatest review of the century. So we have our main character Fleetwood, and she is a lady of the manor. She has a big rich husband, and unfortunately she has lost every single child that she has ever carried, and she is feeling the societal pressure to produce an heir, and her husband, being so incredibly kind and thoughtful, keeps passively aggressively buying her baby gifts, like, here's a wee hint, we need a baby, let's go on that, can we please? So she is overjoyed to find out she is with child, and she is like adamant she's having a healthy baby, she's carrying it to term, this baby will live regardless of the consequences. And she meets a young girl called Alice, and I say young girl, they're like the same age, a young lady named Alice, and Alice is suspected of being a witch, and in this book they call them wise women, and she decides that she wants to employ Alice to be her midwife so that Alice can use her wisdom to make sure she carries her child to term. So I expected that there was going to be a lot more in here around Alice and around what she faced in society with being accused of being a witch, and there wasn't really a lot of that, to be honest. It was mainly about Fleetwood and Fleetwood's relationship with both her husband, her mum and her unborn child, and then with Alice. And probably the redeeming quality of this book for me was her relationship with Alice. I really liked it. I feel like Alice not only helped her with her baby, but she also helped her see some issues that were happening in society. I tend to find that in historical fiction books, the female lead can often be a bit naive to the societal view of women, and I feel like Alice really helps her in this and make sure that she knows exactly what the script is, what society thinks of women, where their place in society is, and Alice just helps her get a wee bit more clued up, which we loved because we're all about girl power here, and enjoyed that aspect of it. But I just felt like there was too much of a focus on Alice's on Fleetwood's relationship with her husband, and I didn't enjoy that so much because he was basically just a bastard and I didn't really care about it. So one of the biggest issues that I had in this book was Fleetwood's relationship with her husband Richard, and his name suits because he's a dick. So he just doesn't really respect Fleetwood, like, and I know that that's just sort of accepted of the time that husbands, you know, didn't care about their wives, but there are other women in his life that he confides in and trusts far more than he trusts Fleetwood, and he basically just sees her as this tiny wee precious thing that should like do as he wants, basically. And as Alice and Fleetwood's relationship grows and Fleetwood becomes a wee bit more clued up and a wee bit more confident, you know, she speaks up and he basically does not like that in the slightest. And the entire book you're geared to hate Richard, and it's fair, he is very hateable. But then the thing that ruined it for me, and this is going to be a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't read this book yet, turn away now. But right at the end of the book, like, the author has decided that she wants Fleetwood and Richard to have like a reunion, right? And like have a nice happy ending. And makes it like he isn't in fact a complete and utter dick, and a lot of the stuff that he has done to Fleetwood that has made him look like a dick is actually just circumstance and misunderstanding, right? But the thing for me is even if some of it can be explained away, he still cheated on her, had another baby behind her back, still treats her like shit constantly, but then all of a sudden at the end of the book we're supposed to ship them and be happy that they're in a relationship. Like, it was no the ending of the book that I wanted at all. For me, the happy ending at the end of this book would have been if Alice and Fleetwood done a bunk and ran away with the baby, and they were just living out in this wee cottage in the woods, and you know, Alice started her own wee apothecary out of the cottage, and they were just getting by on their own means, raising this child platonically together. Like, that's the happy ending that I was here for. That's what I was like signing up for. But apparently I wasn't getting it. So yes, I rated it a 3-star. Like I say, it wasn't the worst book in the world. There was no enough witches in it for me. Reading through some of it was a wee bit of a slog. I felt like there were points that were just like droned on and on and on and on and on about. I didn't like any of the stuff about Richard. I feel like if we just cut him out of the book, grand. Like, he could have just been a sperm donor and the story could have went on without him. I really hated having to read about him, frankly. But I like Fleetwood and Alice's relationship together. I didn't like Fleetwood before Alice, but then when Alice comes into the picture and she starts, you know, becoming more into her own, I got behind Fleetwood and I really enjoyed that. So their relationship and the characterisation of the two women is why it was a 3-star for me. Then next up, and not to be dramatic, but this is the book that made me quit BookTube, right? This is House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on this book. So I loved Throne of Glass. I've spoke about them on the channel loads of times. They were the first set of books that BookTube made me read, and Simon got me gorgeous covers to go over them from Nerdy Ink that I so coveted, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading nearly every single book. We all know that Tower of Dawn was mince, like, it's a general consensus, whatever. So I had been doing so well with my TBR that I had set for myself to complete by the end of the year that I decided I was going to allow myself a reward, and the reward was that book. I had been craving like just a proper good YA fantasy that I could sink my teeth into, that I was going to fall in love with all the characters, I was going to adore the world, and I was like, right, Sarah J Maas it is. I know that she has a Court of Thorn and Roses series, but that is, I've heard, smutty up the wazoo, which I don't enjoy, so I feel like I was just going to moan the entire time while I was reading them, and no, the good moaning, to clarify. So I decided to read this one, and I hated it. to be blunt, totally blunt. I did an entire vlog of me reading this book because I was like, I have anticipated it for so long, it will be great, like, it'll be fantastic for a vlog. And then the vlog turned into a bit of a drinking game because Sarah J Maas reuses the same jokes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in this book. She uses the term alpha hole, which for anybody who doesn't know is like a man who is such an alpha male and controlling and jealous and angry, etc., that he's an arsehole. So she has coined the phrase alpha hole, which, like, haha, funny the first time. But she used the phrase alpha hole in this book 22 times. 22 times. So I did a drinking game and I took 22 shots, and I got through like an entire bottle of tequila. There was some Baileys involved, there was some straight gin involved, some salty caramel vodka involved. Like, there was a lot of booze, and I thought that would be hysterical. But that was the video that I had to edit like 3 times, and I just gave up and was like, nah, BookTube is done, I am no for this anymore, it's not for me anymore, catch you never, nah. But I'm back, so I guess I need to talk about that. So I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't buy into the characters as much in this as I bought into them in Throne of Glass. I didn't buy into the world as much, although the world was interesting. I just feel like it could have been explored more and I would have loved it. This was the first in a series and I will definitely not be continuing the series. I believe the second one is out next year and it's just no for me. Again, the issue with this book is that everything was ridiculously sexual. Like, nobody could do anything in this book without it being construed as sexy and seductive. Like, that's no life. Like, absolutely no life. And as soon as you were introduced to any character in this book, right off the bat, like, it was their appearance and whether or not our main character Bryce wanted to fuck them or not, or how many sexual partners they had because of how extremely fuckable they were. And I just find that inherently dull, really. Like, don't care if you want to pump them or no. Like, no interested. And I feel there was just a lot of missed points in this book for me. The language is atrocious. No, like, swearing, because it's me, but like just her use of language. Like I say, she uses the alcohol joke 22 times in the book, which I just feel is too much. She also uses the phrase party girl so often. Like, anytime anybody else is ever talking about our main character Bryce or her friend Danica, they say party girl. Spoiled party girl, rich party girl, drunk party girl, but it's party girl every single time. And it's like, pick a better phrase or find a different way of describing these girls other than them just being party girls. Like, it's dull now, and there are other things that you could say. Like, tell me more about their character other than they like to party, please. Like, these are supposed to be mystical beings in another world, like, and I didn't want to just read about them drinking and pumping. Like, I could go out to any pub and see that in Glasgow. Like, that is not why I read fantasy. Like, come on, up your game, SJM. And then just the sexual content in this book was like unreal. Like I'd said, everything was sexy. Sexual tension was dripping off of absolutely everything, and it was just boring to read. Truly was. Nobody could eat anything without it being seductive. Nobody could think anything without it being seductive. Nobody could walk a certain way, dress a certain way, do anything mundane without it being like the sexiest thing ever and somebody else getting a pure stiffy about it. Like, it was just boring. It was so boring. And there were points between the sexiness where like actual plot was happening, and it was really frustrating for me as a reader to read this book, because it would be like 5 chapters of boring smut and then 3 chapters of really good plot, character development and storyline, and then within those 3 chapters I'd be like, right, this is it, like, it's finally happened, I'm going to click with it, oh my god, I'm so enjoying it, I'm going to love this. And then it would be like, alright, back to 5 chapters of people wanting to shag each other, then sound. So it was just really frustrating for me. And there was just some stuff in this book that I found a bit shitty as well. So I know that a lot of people really stan SGM for her female sexual empowerment message. Like, great, cool, I obviously stand by that. Like, we're all about empowerment here, sexual or otherwise. That I feel like actually this book didn't really promote a positive impression of female sexual empowerment, because our main character Bryce is at one point confused for being a sex worker like 3 times within the space of 10 minutes in the book, and she was like, in her internal monologue, she's like, I mean, I don't mind, you know, being confused for being a sex worker, blah blah blah, par for the course, but like, I pity those women. Like, no, Sarah J Maas, sex workers work. Like, we do not pity sex workers. They have made a career choice, and that is absolutely like their choice. Like, we do not pity them, we do not tear them down for their choice in career, absolutely not. So I feel like that just detracted for anybody who is promoting it as a female empowerment book. because she just shut herself down. And I feel like the alpha hole thing as well just fell really flat for me, because she is poking fun at these alpha men, like, which I get, and it's funny. I think that everybody knows somebody who has acted like that, and it's like, check your testosterone, like, we get it, you're a man, well done. And like, it's funny when people act like that because they're obviously idiots. But she writes so many alpha holes into her stories, and the main character always falls for the alpha hole and never really changes the alpha hole behaviour. Like, they'll call them out for it and call them an alpha hole, but then that's it. Like, it's never like, actually, you can't treat me like this, I am no your property, and you need to check your behaviour because you're being ridiculous. There is none of that. That is just, oh, you're being a bit of an alpha hole, but it's fine, take me. Like, it's just boring. It was just boring. I really hated it. So I ended up rating this a 1 star for me. The characters were quite unlikable, the plot was a bit derivative, and the character types were basically copy and pasted for Throne of Glass, but done worse because all they wanted to do was fuck each other, and it was boring to read and I hated it. So that was it. That'll be me cancelled as a booktuber. Like, it's my first video back because I've slated an SJM book, but it's my opinion, so whatevs. Well, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you are enjoying everything that you are reading just now, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!